Hi everyone and welcome back to LL Sports TV. Hope you're all doing well. And it's the morning after the night before and one of my worst fears has come to pass, Kenya. Tottenham have actually won a trophy.
I can't believe it.
Even though it's got to be a go down, and I'm sure you agree with me on this, one of the worst games I've ever seen. I'm not even just exaggerating. That literally was one of the worst games I've ever seen. Put aside anything like being a final, which it was supposed to be.
It was championship level. I don't even know if it was championship level.
Yeah, you're right.
It was such a low quality. It was 16th versus 17th.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For a so-called major final, Europa League. Spurs, as we all know by now, won 1-0, a goal gifted to them by the hapless Andre Onana. I mean, God.
You just have to laugh.
He's supposed to be a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kenya, the reason why we're sat here today is that the question has been put, as I thought it might be. Apparently even the manager, Mikel Arteta, today was put to him at the press conference. Yeah. Spurs winning their first major trophy in 17 years. Does that now mean that Arsenal, or shall I say Spurs, have had a better season than Arsenal?
No. I think the word better, if you say the word successful, then yes, because in my opinion, football's about winning things. It's about being as successful as possible, and to be successful, you have to win things. So if you said successful, I'd say yes, but better, no. I feel like, for me, the key indicator was after that game, Brennan Johnson, they went to Brennan Johnson, who obviously scored the only and the winning goal.
Did he score? Did he even touch it?
Well, he kind of touched it, to be honest. But he scored the goal.
It's more Onana's goal than his.
Yeah, Onana threw it in for him. But the first thing that came out of Brennan Johnson's mouth was, you know, we've been terrible this season in the league. That's the first thing. And he said, this is just, you know, us kind of paying back the fans for the terrible season we've had. So even hearing both sets of managers, even Ruben Amorim saying multiple times, almost begging for their jobs, both of them really, you know, and saying, I want to stay here because he knows the season's been terrible. Ruben Amorim saying, if the board and the fans want me to leave, I'd walk. Things like that. I think winning the trophy is fantastic, but it doesn't cover up the awful season they had. And if you told me, would you lose 21 games if it meant winning Europa League, I don't think I'm taking that. I'm sorry. There's two teams that have massively regressed. So I don't think they have had a better season, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so what would you say, though, to the people that said to end their trophy drought, like I said, 17 years?
Yeah.
You contrast that with Arsenal have not won anything this season. Then just by the sheer optics of that, then, you know, people would say, there will be a lot of people that would say that, you know, Spurs have had a more successful season. What would your response be to that, though?
I mean, my response would be similar to what I've been saying before Spurs won their trophy, which is we failed to be successful. We failed to do our job, which is to win the league, win the Champions League, win the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. We were in 4 competitions as well, and we failed in all of those situations. So, I mean, even hearing those words, I don't really understand why a lot of fans get so upset. Like the outrage yesterday, I don't really get why so many people are outraged. We've known for weeks that we're not going to win anything. Like, if anything, yes, this is more of it's like a sore spot, but actually them winning a trophy doesn't really change what we know, which is we weren't going to win anything. So yeah, they have had a more successful season, and if anything, it should rile up our manager. It should rile up those players to say, look at this team. They've lost 21 games and counting. They could lose another one on the weekend, on the last game, and they were able to win something. Even Man United, they've lost like 18 games, but they made it to a final. Like, you have to, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these things are subjective, but you did touch on something there that I wanted to ask you. I was going to ask you later, but, you know, we've kind of digressed onto it, so I'm going to ask you now. And it was a conversation that I've not too long had with your dad, actually, Robbie. And I said to him, I said, look, do you think that Spurs having won that trophy yesterday now puts Arteta under even more pressure next season?
Yes, I do. I really do.
Because he didn't think it did, and I agree with you. I think it does.
Don't get me wrong. I feel like he was already under a lot of pressure for next season. But now that your local rival, your most hated rival, your fan base is looking at that like, rah, we've had a terrible season, and so have they, but they've actually left with something. The fans are going to be even more on your case, especially when it comes to that Champions League. I know the Champions League and the Europa League are very different, but the pressure's on, man. And you know what? I'm not against it at all. I'm actually not against it.
Yeah. No, listen, I agree with you. I mean, your dad seemed to think that it wouldn't really mean any extra pressure. The pressure will be the same. He did say that he will be under pressure to deliver a major trophy next season.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think that it's increased the pressure on him because, you know, a lot of Arsenal fans will just straight away say, look, you know, if them up the road can win a trophy, why is it that we've not won a trophy now in 5 years? Given all the money that's been spent, given all the everything that's gone into the whole project or process over the last 5 years, the spending upwards of 830 odd million. We should be delivering in terms of trophies. And, you know, we've got to be honest and say that this season has been disappointing.
It's been awful.
Our league aspirations petered out. To me, it was over in February when we lost at home to West Ham.
And that last day of January, when I saw we're not getting anyone, I was like, no, we're not even going to charge for the title. We're not even going to get in a race with Liverpool. I already knew then and there. This team's not good enough. There's not enough people to try something at the very least. So I kind of knew it then. And then obviously we lost to West Ham probably about a week later.
Yeah, so. I think we lost to them back in February.
Yeah.
And then I knew it was all over. I mean, I spoke to Curtis, sorry to keep name dropping, but I think it's important that...
Big up CU.
Yeah, big up Curtis. And he said today that, listen, man, and the highlight of our season was putting Madrid out there.
That's what...
and that doesn't constitute a trophy. You don't get a trophy for putting Madrid out of the Champions League.
Exactly.
And again, he's right, yeah?
Exactly, he's right. I mean, I said it at the time. I said, look, that's a great memory, but who cares in 10 years' time? When my younger siblings ask me, oh yeah, tell me about that great night you was at the Emirates and you won, and I'll be like, yeah, Declan Rice, fantastic free kicks, Mikel Merino scoring again. And then, I don't know, my brother says, well, what happened after that? I say, yeah, next leg we didn't even bother to turn up against PSG and we got knocked out.
Exactly.
Like, who cares about that? I don't know about everyone else, but I'm not here for just one-off games of moments. I'm here to win things.
Fans want to win things. Listen, I can remember I was with your dad, right? I can give an example that comes to mind straight away. 2005, I think it was. We went the FA Cup final against Man United, incidentally. I think it was Patrick Vieira's last game when we won on penalties. United were clearly the better side that day. We stunk the joint out, but we won the game. And that still sticks in my memory as a memorable night. So when it comes to things like that, Spurs winning the Europa League, okay, you know, you can argue the wheres and wherefores about the trophy, how strong it was, and, you know, a lot of Arsenal fans, myself included, have said, look, it's not quite the same competition when we was in it, because they changed the format, which makes it less... Yeah,
like, no offence, you look at that Spurs
difficult to win.
They played Karabakh. I think the hardest team they played was Galatasaray.
Yeah, who they lost to, didn't they?
Yeah, and they lost to them. They
did put out Eintracht Frankfurt, who were third in the Bundesliga.
Eintracht Frankfurt, but then they also played Bodo Glimt, Karabakh. Like, I've never even heard of Karabakh. Do you know what I mean? There was another team, like, these are teams that, honestly, some of them wouldn't even be championship teams. In the most respectful way possible. So it is very different, but you just got to win what's in front of you, man. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the optics of winning a trophy, obviously that's going to stand out, but it doesn't tell you the whole story by far, because, like I said, if you look at where the two clubs stand in terms of, you know, next season and, you know what I mean, how you expect them to perform overall, we're in a far stronger position than Tottenham. I mean, how many losses have they had already this season?
21, I think.
21 losses. I mean, come on, man. And the season's not even over yet.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
They can lose 22.
Yeah, so, you know, and that final yesterday as well, 16th and 17th respectively, that actually looks like two teams at the nether end of the table, because they served up an absolute stinker.
It was disgraceful, man. I think you think about the year before, we watched Atalanta versus Bayer Leverkusen. 3-0 Atalanta, Ademola hat-trick. The year before that, even that was a 1-0 win, I think. Sevilla won it 1-0 or something over Roma. Those are all high quality games. It was like, you know what? Wow, like, although it's Europa League, these are like teams that should really be in the Champions League. I watched that yesterday and I was like, that Sunderland versus Coventry game I watched just a couple of weeks ago was 10 times better than this, and that was in the Championship. That's Championship.
Well, you compare what we saw yesterday to the FA Cup final last week. The FA Cup final was a great game.
It was really
good. Two good teams played very good football, end-to-end stuff.
Close. very close in competition.
Exactly.
Couldn't
Whereas
really pick them out.
yesterday, you know what I mean, the quality was
Yes,
poor.
so bad.
There was a phase of play in the first half of that game. I think it was about 10 passes back to back went astray from both teams. So in other words, Team A got it, give it away.
Yeah.
Team B got it, give it away, and back and forth 10 consecutive times in a major final. So that tells you that. I mean, listen, we're coming across as a little bit
but I
bitter
think
and twisted, but that's a fact.
it was just as like a pure footballing thing. It was like I think Stats Muse posted it on Twitter. Like I think that midfield, that Spurs midfield, they didn't even create one chance between the three of them, yet they scored.
Yeah,
like,
I think Spurs had one shot on target.
Yeah. Like that, if that doesn't sum up how bad of a game it was a really poor game.
If I'm forced to sum up that game, I'm going to say that Spurs were slightly less bad than
exactly.
Man United.
Exactly.
They went out and took it.
It was almost of who could be the worst, and Man United just ended up being the worst on that day.
Because they couldn't get any worse. They were absolutely dreadful. I mean, I've spoken to a few United fans today, and they are absolutely up in arms, and so they should be. I remember when we got smoked in the Europa League final against Chelsea. I think it was back in 2019.
That was a defining moment, man.
And that was a terrible night. And incidentally, that kind of
set Unai Emery up.
Yeah, I mean, he lost that final in May. I think by the end of that year, he was gone.
Yeah, and to be honest,
so,
I actually think he was so lucky to even come back from Baku. He's lucky, and I think Ruben Amorim is also quite lucky because, he's come at United. Tell me one player he's improved. Tell me one player that, other than Bruno, I'd say Bruno's just out of his own brilliance.
looked good yesterday.
Yeah, Lenny Yoro looked good yesterday, but again, these are defenders. You needed a goal.
What do you say to those people that say that with Spurs winning the trophy that they won yesterday, Arsenal don't win anything, then the rivalry now is a little bit more intense, whereas before it was looking like a rivalry that wasn't really a rivalry, but now they've won a so-called major trophy, then that will give them a certain psychological boost, and the whole dynamic of the relationship between Arsenal and Tottenham will change somewhat. They have to be taken more seriously now as a rival. What do you say to that?
I actually disagree because, I was saying earlier, they've won that trophy, but I know next season we're going to get 6 points. So what's the point? To me, it's not this even when we beat them at the Emirates Stadium. So this season, for example, we went to their stadium. We had, I think, no Declan Rice. Who else were we missing? We're missing another big player in that midfield. And I remember saying, we're going to beat you, blah, blah. We went there, bopped them off the park, 1-0. At home, we went through that. We lost 2 games in 1 week. Yeah, we're going to beat them comfortably at home, 2-1. I don't really care. Okay, they've won the trophy, cool. But the facts show me that in the last probably 4 years, they've not beaten us once in any competition. So to me, do
you think it will give them a boost though going forward?
Yeah,
it will
give them a boost.
We have to be honest and say it's not just actually. So they've won the trophy, the first in 17 years.
Yeah.
They qualify for the Champions League, which is a bit of a circuitous route, but they're there. They're also going to play in the Super Cup. Now there could unfold a scenario whereby they could be either PSG or Inter and be able to call themselves the designated champions of Europe.
Yeah. Well, let's
Imagine
see.
that.
When it comes to that, chat to me. But until then, I'm not doing, as famous words is, I'm not doing if, buts or maybes, man.
Yeah.
I just see it as, at the moment, until a Spurs fan tells me that, when was the last time Spurs beat us? When was the last time that we looked shaky against Spurs? Every time we play Spurs, Abby, who else? Expressions throughout, they know what it is. They know it's licks. Simple as that. Yeah. So to me, as long as we keep beating them and we can go on to add points into the league, and that helps us to win the league, or if that helps us to get to the next round of a FA Cup or a Carabao Cup or even the Champions League, I don't care.
What do you think the players will be feeling though? Do you think there'll be some embarrassment amongst the management and the players?
The way footballers are now, I don't even think probably half of them feel
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean? But if I was the players, I'd be feeling, I don't want to say embarrassed, because at the same time, the reality is they can't win the Europa League because they're too good to be in the Europa League. That's a factual statement. The Europa League and the Champions League cannot be compared in terms of the level of competition. The level of
I do agree with you. I 100% agree with you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. I do see when people say it's embarrassing for Arsenal, I do see that, because we are calling ourselves like one of the elite clubs of Europe.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone to the semi-final stage of the Champions League. We look like we're going to finish second in the league, in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean, we haven't won a trophy now for five seasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's unacceptable. So I do see where some people say it's embarrassing that a club like you guys are calling yourselves this top club in Europe, one of the top clubs in the Premier League. If you were that good, if you were that top side, how comes it's not being represented in terms of trophies?
Yeah, no, and I agree. Because
we weren't in the same Europa League, right? And as your dad pointed out quite eloquently this morning, we don't want to be in the Europa League because you want to be in a position where you're qualifying for the Champions League, and I get that. But then other people might say, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, what about all the other trophies? The FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, the Premier League, you know what I mean? We're in the same competitions as Tottenham there, and we've still not won anything.
Yeah, and I agree, but what did they also win in those competitions? Where are they in the league? Literally 17th, or just above relegation spots, you know what I mean?
No, I'm saying take away Tottenham from that for a minute. Do you not think it's a little embarrassing that
it's terrible.
This week, next season we'll be going into the 6th season without?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Anything?
It's not. You guys know me. I've been saying for time it's not good enough. I even said this season, to me, there should be change going into the next season, because I've already seen for about 3 or 4 seasons that this is a person that's that's just can't win anything. No matter how hard they try, no matter how many good runs or form or whatever it is, it is.
Are you confident that he can win something next season?
No, I'm not confident. I'm not going to lie.
Oh.
I'm not confident.
That sounds like, you know what, that's subject for another show. We'll have to do that.
Yeah, but from what I see a track record of not winning. So where's the confidence coming from? Do you know what I mean? If you told me, okay, he missed out on the league last season, but he won the FA Cup or he'd won the Carabao Cup, I'd be like, you know what? He picked up in other competitions. He knows how to get over the line. He's just maybe falling short in those small areas. Fair enough. But I just see a guy, 1 FA Cup, 2 Community Shields. That's not really a track record of winning that I should be confident in, is it?
So, okay then, let's fast forward to, November, December? The end of the year, end of 2025.
Yeah. So kind of halfway
for you, you're going to do your end of year assessment of the manager.
Yep.
What's he got to do by then for you to be convinced that he can retain his job for the latter half of the season?
For me, you have to be either first or second, and if you're second, I'm talking like a point behind.
Yeah.
You have to, I think, when does the
Champions League won't start until the new year.
Doesn't start to the new year. When's the FA Cup?
Actually,
In fact, wouldn't the Champions League
FA Cup
start? The Champions League would have started by then because of the new format.
Oh yes, of course.
So you have to be similar to how we were this season, where you need to be in the top eight of that. You need to be winning in that. And same with your cups. If they've started, then you need to be going into the next round. It's usually around December, January.
The FA Cup starts the first week in January. The Carabao Cup would have started by then.
Yeah, so to me, you must be in all of those competitions and you must be thriving in them. Simple as that. That's how I see it. There's no room for excuse. I don't want to be saying in December, well, we're knocked out of this or we're not doing well in this and that. So it's easy.
Okay then, so to wrap up, we're saying that no, Tottenham winning the Europa League in, let's face it, a very poor final against another very poor team. Them winning that, even though they've ended their 17-year trophy drought, does not mean they've had a better season. But if you're prioritising silverware, then okay, fine, you can take that. However, if you prioritise consistent high-level performance, then it's obvious that Arsenal are in a completely different category to Spurs. And I think even the most ardent, die-hard partisan Spurs fan would think that. But I will say that, you know what I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to congratulate Spurs on winning their trophy because it pains me to do that. Well, you know what, I'm going to say,
they get their flowers.
Have your flowers, Big up Ange, because a lot of people were doubting him. And he has answered a lot of the critics. He said he always wins a trophy in his second season. A lot of people laughed at him, so he's had the last laugh there. I'll give him that. But in terms of them having a better season than Arsenal, absolutely no way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So there you have it, and we've got a Haz, our producer, in the background here with his Spurs shirt and waving his Spurs flag and all that. Enjoy, man, enjoy, because trust me, when the season starts next season, we'll see what's going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kenya,
Yes.
thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching and supporting LL Sports TV. Really appreciate it. You know what I'm going to say next. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. We are out.